is it a positive or a negative that the government of Ambazonia is now stationed in the United States? Welcome to another edition of Voices. My name is Augustine Ambe, and you are?
Rogers Akim.
Yeah, Rogers. This show today, you will be my main guest. And the reason you're going to be my main guest is because you are very well read about the struggle. You are very well informed about what's going on both in the diaspora and in the territory. And I've always had you a resource in that aspect, and so today you're going to be my main guest because the topic today is really to discuss what is going on in the struggle.
Okay.
And since because you're staying abreast in the diaspora and abroad, and in the territory, I think you're not only knowing what's going on, but you're also hearing what other people are saying. You have an ear to the ground, and you have an ear in the diaspora. So Roger is going to be our. We're going to be consulting with him today, and I'm not saying he knows everything, but I think we can add up what we know, and he will tell us about what we don't know.
Exactly.
Abroad, we had all these ideas. We worked really hard to change the situation at home. Gojidinka in 1990 formed a government that did not help. In the 90s again, SCNC formed a government that did not work. SCYL in 2003 formed a government that did not work. And I think there was a restoration government that was led by Professor Carson Anyangwe.
Mm-hmm.
That did not work either.
Yes.
And I think this did not work not because the ideas were no good, mm-hmm. or that we did not have money. I think it was just, or that we did not articulate the problems correctly. I think they just did not work because we're so far from the place to be organically connected with the people, mm-hmm. in the sense that we're living the same lives with them, and we are partnering with them, and solving the problems, not only of the problems that we know, but the problems as they are changing them, because the people are dealing with an enemy who is well funded, who is dedicated to keeping them their slaves forever. Mm-hmm. They have their governors, they have their gendarmes, they have their everything there, and so it's a daily grind for the people.
Yeah. And
you cannot be abroad and you think that you can somehow, and I think that's part of the reason why from a distance we haven't been very successful.
Yeah, and you can look at it from different perspectives, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can even go to the Bible and look at why did God send His only Son Jesus Christ to come to earth. You can, and I'm using that allusion to tell you that
that is deep.
Yes, because there is no way you can stay in heaven and govern the people on earth. So,
affect the kind of changes that needed to be on earth.
To be on earth,
yes.
Yeah. So Christ actually had to become man and come to live with the people to understand some of the problems, and before He could save those people. So I just brought that allusion to add to what you were saying, because it is difficult to govern people when I have never seen any government in exile that has succeeded. Any government in exile, you always have to try to make it into the territory to be able to be an effective government. So you cannot stay in heaven and govern people on earth. It is just impossible.
Well, having said that, the Ayatollah, mm-hmm. the Ayatollah actually stayed in France and affected change, but I think that change worked because there were the mullahs in the territory in Iran. All the religious people were with him because they were trying to make it an Islamic state.
Yes.
And to fight out the Western influence that was there. So they had all these local, well-managed, well-disciplined people of the religious sect that were there to because let me say this, leadership is in two levels. There's the micro level and the macro level. At the micro level, if you want to look at that situation, to be honest with you, if you look at our recent revolution that succeeded, at the micro level, the good micro governance came from the lawyers. They were disciplined, they had a vision, they managed their group well.
Yes.
Then the teachers, then,
Trade unionists.
the trade unionists, the Okadas. So that was a micro government. And then they started needing a macro government. And that's why they created the consortium. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you need an effective micro management and an effective macro manager. And if the micro are working well, but the macro is not working well, things will not work.
Exactly.
So in our case, we used to create all these big government in the United States, but there were no micromanagers on the ground. The ground was not totally organized. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And all of this would so let's fast forward. So basically what I'm trying to say here is that managing a government outside the United States, we've tried for many times, it did not work. Now, I'm going to go straight to some of the issues now. So the ground level swells, the micro managers manage the ground well, creates a revolution, and that overwhelmed the Bia and the French. Then they created the macro, started creating the macro, and the Bia and the French just know that's danger coming now. So they had to arrest Agwobala, put him in jail so that there's no government of the people. Can you remember? I think Paul Biya made his his independent speech. We always call it New Year's speech, but it's really their independent speech. And then the following day, Agwobala made one for our people too, and that totally pissed them off.
The agreements that sought to protect us and our cultural specificity were systematically wiped out using grandiose phrases like national unity or national integration. Using a very diabolic system of patronage, our political and social values were dismantled with the complicity of our political elites. Our economic and social structures were plundered and our manner of thinking changed. Our people were taught to admire corruption and greed. Our elected officials no longer served us, but the party to which they belong. Our educational system, which for long had been tested and proven, came under attack. Attempts were repeatedly made to harmonize it, thereby wiping out the last vestiges of what was still left out of our heritage. Using divide and rule, the government fanned hatred among us, and this blinded us to the gradual destruction of our system. Our natural resources were carted away, while our people languished in poverty, lack, or even deprivation.
They are beginning to see us create our own quote-unquote Paul Biya, except he was better than Paul Biya. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So they needed to cut the head. So they no government. And that's why they also went after Siseko and took him out too.
Yeah.
I think what happened after that is that the government or the macro government of the southern Cameroons and Bazonia moved to the United States. Now, the question that I want to ask you is it the same as when we created the governments in the past and they did not really work? Or you think this one, being based in the United States, is different from the Gojidinka government, the SCNC government, the SCYL government, and the Anyangwe government? You think, because now the government is here, and I'm saying this because as I was thinking about this whole topic, I also added, as one of the reasons why governments that were created abroad were not successful, one of the reasons I added was that, life in the West is very busy. And so if you have an enemy who has all agents working on the ground every day, and then you have a government that's away in the United States, and maybe people give it like maybe 30 minutes or an hour a day after they've gone and done their 8-hour work, and then attend to their entertainment, attend to their families, and then when it's time to go to bed, they go and look at the computer and then respond to some emails and go to work, and then the same thing continues every day. You know what I'm saying? I gave that as part of the reasons why some of these governments that were based abroad did not work. Other than that, they were not part of the problem. So, do you think taking the government out of Boya, because Bala was in Boya as a consortium leader, brought it to Nigeria? Nigeria is a little closer to La Republique or to Ambazonia. And now this government again is in the United States. And I think it's being manned by people who have the same chores that the people in the all previous governments that failed were part of. Do you think is it a positive or a negative that the government of Ambazonia is now stationed in the United States?
Well, you can look at it in two ways, and let's look at the positive first. The positive that I see in that is the fact that what happened in Nigeria with the abduction of Ayuk and all the other people would probably not happen in the United States.
Yes. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That's a positive. But with all the other things that you have enumerated, the fact that it is too far away from the ground, the fact that the people have their own busy lives, and then the struggle probably comes second or third or fourth in their lives. The fact that they are not really down on the ground or very close to the ground, because the people who were in Nigeria, the refugees were coming, Dr. Ngalanfo and all the other people would be in the refugee camps.
Yes.
So they were right in there with the people, and their response and their strategizing was very, very different from those of us or the government that is far off here in North America or in South Africa or in Europe, because I think members of the cabinet, they are all over the place. So that is a liability for the government, because the fact that these people are all over the place, it's difficult to strategize. It's difficult to actually understand exactly what is happening on the ground. It is different to be living something when you go to those camps and meet those people versus what you see on your phone or what is communicated to you via a phone call or something like that. So it makes sometimes your response to the events or your decision making is not as prompt or as immediate as it was supposed to be, because you are a little bit distant from the affairs on the ground, and you don't really have a grip or an understanding of exactly how they are happening.
Right, so and I think
go ahead.
Yeah, no, please go ahead. Finish.
So I think overall it is a negative to have the government far away from that. And I said that before, because you always, any government that is in exile, you always want to move towards the ground. You always want to move to be with the people, because when you are around the people, then you empower the people, because then now you are there, you are trying to secure a place, the people are empowered, the people know they have their government, and you cease from becoming a government in virtual space, but you actually become a government in physical space.
Yes. Now we just talked about Ayatollah succeeding in Paris, from Paris. Now, let me ask you this. So the Ambazonian government in the United States can still succeed being in the United States.
Definitely.
But I imagine that the Ayatollah did not have a job in Paris. I don't think he did. But let me finish my question here, because but I want to say that Ayatollah was affected. Yeah, Ayatollah was affected because I don't think he had a job in Paris. And the second one was that we've already mentioned that he had the clergies, the mosque and all the different influences they have in society, carrying his orders and implementing them to their ground zero. Is there a strong are there strong micro managers on the ground right now, where the interim government based in the United States can work with effectively, like the Ayatollah work with the churches in Iran?
No, not really. I mean, there are people there, but I think in one of the communication that the president had with Kuku, I think it was yesterday or a couple of days ago.
It was yes.
Yeah, he indicated that there are people he wanted to appoint as governors who are on the ground.
Okay.
And so maybe he's talking about that in reference to what you are saying.
Okay.
And that these people can then create. But the angle that he took was kind of concerning to me, because it was like, okay, the chiefs have failed, so we need some kind of a structure to replace the chiefs that have failed to adhere to the struggle or be part of the struggle.
Mm-hmm.
So he was not approaching it from what you are describing, creating something that would facilitate the implementation of the...
And that would be effective.
Yes.
Because, okay, and the only reason I'm using the word effective, because, and I heard that too. I think that had been announced before. And my thinking about, when you have a governor in the territory, does he really govern, and who does he control? Because he has to be there in hiding.
Exactly. Yeah, so those
so you really cannot look at that like a micromanager on the ground.
Yes. So I'm responding. That was the approach that he was trying to take to solve a problem. But we know that approach is not going to be effective because of the conditions on the ground. So to answer the long and short of your question is that no, it is not possible. We don't have those structures. We don't have all what would make the church. Our society is not a homogenic, yes, yeah. like Iran that you have described.
Yeah.
It is very easy for you to implement those kind of things, because you can see when they go to their Friday prayers and come out of the church,
it's all political.
Yeah, it's dead to America and all those kind of things.
Yes.
You see how that reverberates through the country. In our own area, we have had problems with the Catholic Church. You know, on this show we have talked so much about what the church is doing or not doing. You go to the mosque, you hardly hear about how the Muslims are approaching this. You don't hear anything. The pastor of the Presbyterian of the Baptist Church, the only person that I have seen say something who is a Baptist, came out and was begging Bia that Bia should solve the problem because he called him Papa and all those kind of things.
Yes, and he also said that he was not speaking on behalf of the Baptist Church. Yes,
the Baptist Church, yeah, but that is the only person from that church that has said something. So I just use those examples to show you how difficult it is in our own case versus Iran to be able to effect these things from outside. So I think I am with you that it is difficult to achieve what the interim government is trying to achieve from the United States, given our own circumstances.
Yes, but I do agree with the interim government president, Sako, that the funds cannot be relied on. I agree with him. What do you think?
Well,
because it failed, and I've said on another show when the IG said on October 1 that go to your chiefs. The chiefs. I don't think the chiefs delivered.
How did you want them to deliver?
No, they needed to come out and say what the people were aspiring to, and talk about our restoration and talk about some of the injustice that were going on. I don't think any of the funds came out and said that.
No, you are perfectly right. But let's look at this is how I look at it, though. If you are a fund, the only reason you are a fund is because you have a people. And when if those people decide that you are not going to be fund, or they don't take orders from you, then your fund, you are no longer a fund, you are a naked fund.
Yes.
Exactly. So that is how I see it. And they might be looking at the wind, which way the wind is blowing, in order to make them...
No, they're in Paul Bia's pocket. They are being paid by the government, and they have made Paul Bia their fund of funds. So Sako is President Sako is correct that these people are not an ally, so we cannot rely on them. But you see the problem that he's trying to solve.
Yeah, I see the problem. But let's talk a little bit about that, though, because you see, like in my village, right?
Mm-hmm.
The powers of the fund are checked. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The fund has the quick fund, and the quick fund is the people that can put the fund in check. So,
but look, let me say this: when I hear Quifor in Bafu, when the Quifor is coming, people take off.
Yeah, well,
so I don't think Quifor is the people.
Well,
the Quifo knocks a little gong, and that is saying we are coming, please.
Well, that is something different. I'm talking about the institution.
No, I know the institution. The institution is represented by people who are part and parcel of what we call the palace. And these palaces did not deliver. So Quifo was part of the palace that did not deliver. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, okay, and we can look at some of the videos. I remember there was this village in the southern zone that went to their palace and told the phone that they are for Seseko. I think you remember that.
Yes,
and the women articulated that very well. I think there were other people in the northern zone. There was one old man that was brought out. He was actually helped to come down and sit with the people, and he confirmed to the people that he has heard them and all of that. So what I'm saying is that...
I'm laughing because any of the funds that was smart, that's all they said. I have heard you. You know, I have heard you. You've come to the palace, you've spoken, and I have heard.
And coming from a town like Limbe, from a town which I come from, which I had great forefathers like Chief Kubali Keniev just ahead of us from Boya, who fought for the Bakwe resistance. And today, in a town like Boya and Limbe, which are pure centers from the Southwest regime, their chiefs cannot come out and fight. I want to tell you all chiefs, you are a disgrace to your people. I'm from Limbe. All you guys want to do is to sell lands, extort the people from their finances. If every chief had to be like the chiefs we have now of Limbe, then I'm not sure our forefathers would leave even a pin of a land or a plot for us to even build a house on. Every chief from Limbe, beginning from Wovia, Botaland, Bimbia, right down to the coast of the Buncha, all you who are chiefs, going up to Bujongo, right to Bova, down to Ekona, right to my 29 in Moyuka, all you who carry the Bakwarian in heritage, and you are not standing. All the Southwestern chiefs who are keeping silent, I tell you, shame on you. I am not scared anymore. It is too much. How can you be a chief of Boya? If Paramount Chief Endeli was there, I'm sure he would even speak. Because he even had small decency and small respect for the people and his forefathers. How will you be a chief in Boya and you watch students are being raped and you will not go out and profess your rights? You will not even call on the leaders to talk? You will not even call on the leaders to respect themselves? How will you be a chief and you watch your people are dying and you will not say nothing, the people which you claim you stand for them? What a shame.
There was none that came out and said, you know what, it's long overdue, and I'm glad that you are human beings and you're responding to your environment, and if this government or whoever is keeping you prisoner has ears to listen, let them listen now, because you were created by God to be free. I didn't hear anybody come out and say that.
Yeah, and if they care, they shouldn't say it, because the people have resolved. That's what I'm telling you, that it is you cannot govern, you cannot be a fund if you don't have people. So the funds might be wherever they are, and the people are in a different place. They are just fighting their fight now. They have a bigger enemy now, and probably when they are finished with that enemy, then they will turn their guns inside.
Now, and that, so let me, so the people did express what they wanted.
Yes.
They started with the lawyers who said, we want you to resolve our common law issues and what is happening in our courts. The teachers came and said, we want you to resolve what is happening in our classrooms. The government totally treated them like they don't exist. And I think Wiba in Palace, Honorable Wiba, actually gave what the response of La République was. Qu'est-ce que vous allez faire? What are you going to do? Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. So the people say, okay, what we're going to do is that all of us are going to rise up now and ask for our rights.
Yes.
Give us a federation. They said, they did not respond. And the answer again was, what are you going to do? Then the people said, okay, we are going to declare our independence.
We're going to restore.
We're going to restore our independence. Mm-hmm. And so on October 1 they did. And then La Republique started killing them until Seseko was arrested. And now, I think since Seseko was arrested, people are beginning to be restless again. I want, and you and I just said our government now is stationed in the United States. What is the atmosphere right now in the struggle that you're hearing or that you're noticing or that you're reading? Because it's, I mean, we all have apps that are flying all around the place.
Well, yeah, you can tell that people are anxious. And people are anxious because it looks as if there is no sense of direction. You saw what transpired between one of the frontline groups, AGC, and the government at the UNPO meeting in Geneva. In those meetings in Geneva, you have seen the fights on social media and all of that. So I think all of these things, and I've read people are worried. People are describing this as a God-ordained revolution that is supposed to be won, but we are screwing it up. So all of these things that are happening, there is no sense of direction. There is apparently a lack of leadership or steady leadership and things like that. It is creating some kind of atmosphere of fear, and people are beginning to wonder whether this is actually going to where they hope that it's supposed to go.
Well, but okay, we do have Chris Ano broadcasting almost every week. I think there's another. Is it
Dr. Santos?
Yeah. He and then the president himself. I mean, so he is. They are articulating. They are talking to the people. Are you saying all of that is not having an effect?
Well, you can talk to the people, and sometimes you begin to talk, and you don't realize that you are talking to yourself. Because the question is, what are they saying to the people? Well, you just, okay, you have Chris Ano, who is the communication official for the interim government. And then now you have a press secretary. Does it make sense? So what is Chris Ano saying and what is the press secretary saying? So people then begin to ask these questions. Do we really know what we are doing? Chris Ano comes out and speaks, and then the press secretary comes out and speaks, and then the president comes out and speaks. So it looks, so at some point, those messages just start flying over people's head because people cannot keep abreast with what you are actually telling them. There is really no strategy. You just come out and make these videos and put them in social media and attack other groups. I mean, people have been complaining. If you are a government, you have to act as a government, and you are not going to stop at any barking dog. You know, any dog that is barking, you stop to respond to that dog. Any dog that is barking, you stop on your way to respond to that dog. It is not possible. So that is creating some sense of anxiety amongst the people, and it is affecting the revolution in one way or the other.
Okay, so that's at the level of talk. Can you tell me something concretely that the interim government has done or a plan that they've put forward that would take place? I mean, are there any actions that have taken place that are effective that you can tell? Or look, talk like people always talk, okay? And yes, I do agree that the interim government is talking too much, because to be honest, I used to listen to Chris Ano when he started. Right now, I think the talking is too much. I really started losing hope when he came out one time and talked about on a certain Monday that things were going to happen. I can tell you I had calls from home with people trying to buy food and save, and nothing happens.
Tomorrow Monday, the Monday coming on, tomorrow Monday, we have been told that their 48 hours are expired. I don't know from where they're going to eat. I'm happy that the government is taking it serious, because yesterday I saw
who's 48 hours.
The ambassadors, they gave 48 hours on social media, on Facebook, that are giving government 48 hours to release a leader, or Monday they are going to see.
So at that point, I started thinking that maybe we're talking too much, and maybe we shouldn't be talking that much. And what you just said is that the talking has increased because at that time there was no press secretary. So at the level of talk, we do agree that there's too much talk, and maybe the government really needs to be quiet so that when they want to talk, people can actually listen. Because sometimes if you miss one talk, by the time you want to go back and view that talk, there have been like 2 or 3 more talks on top. You know what I'm saying? And then you start becoming overwhelmed, and that's really where I've been. So sometimes I only hear what was said because there's just too much that has been said. But let's come down to because in the final analysis is the action that counts. Is there any action that you can think of, or that we know that the interim government based in the United States has done since Sissoko was arrested?
I will be hard pressed to find one. I don't. To be very honest with you, I don't know if it's a continuation of the Sissoko government or it's a new government was created. I can't tell, but I guess it is a continuation because we had an acting interim president. Now we have an assistant. Before he was acting interim president, I know that he was the undersecretary for foreign affairs, and he himself came out yesterday and said, listed a couple of things that we have demonstrated. We have written petitions. We have done everything that we needed to do. Sissoko Ayuk said they had made contacts with some foreign countries and their support was supposed to. So I was surprised when he said the president Sissoko had said there was all these embassies have been, because he was the undersecretary for foreign affairs. Mm-hmm. So he should have been the one actually continuing or showing us what was done at that level. So we have not seen that. We have seen a couple.
Well, let me ask you this though. I mean, he may be doing that, but they're not overt, or.
Well, he himself said that there is nothing.
Oh, okay.
In the interview with Cuckoo de Blancs, that's what he said. So
okay.
It's not me saying it; it is him saying it. So recently there was the Commonwealth meeting in London
last week. Yeah,
last week we didn't see the foreign affairs person there.
Well, but the communications man was there.
Well, but who?
Or who is the foreign affairs? Who is the foreign affairs person?
I think it's Professor Anyangwe. If things have not changed, I don't know if things. I am still relying on what Sissoko put in place. So if everything is the same as it was supposed to be, then Professor Anyangwe was supposed to be there. Since Sissoko was arrested, we have not seen. It is Chris Anu who went to Nigeria. We have not seen the foreign affairs people anywhere actually visiting these capitals or trying to talk to these people or trying to do something to get the struggle going. So the only thing that I know that is happening with the government is my trip to Boya that they have put in place. That to me is a fundraising strategy. It is not a strategy in moving the revolution. Maybe there is something in it that we don't understand. But actually looking at what the current government has done to move the struggle forward, I am hard-pressed to actually show you, but I think maybe there are things in the background that we don't know, but I don't know. But the only thing I know is that there have been appointments of this press secretary. Now we have a state house. This press secretary goes out and talks to the people. Chris Anu goes out and talks to the people. And then the president comes out and talks to the people. Basically, that's it. And probably that is the reason why people are feeling some kind of, okay, are we really doing anything, or we are just talking to ourselves? And I can give you an example. Mm-hmm. I was in Wisconsin last week. Right? The people in Wisconsin organized a meeting with their congressman. And we here in Minnesota decided to join them there. Mm-hmm. And this Congressman Sessenberger, said he had heard something about this struggle, but he did not know that it was that significant, which tells you that we have been talking to ourselves too much, and the people that are supposed to be doing the foreign affairs and doing all those things and bringing this struggle to the state capitals, to the corridors of power and all over the world, we are not doing it.
I think you should add that he said it was that significant because the delegation coming from Minnesota to meet him.
Yes, they coming to meet the people in Wisconsin who did a wonderful presentation.
Yes.
So now he was able to find out exactly what happened, and he promised to go and talk to the committee, the chairman of the Committee for African Affairs, and to get things going. So which means the people who are in power, or the people who have been the ambassadors that were appointed by Sissoko or that were appointed by Dr. Sako, have not been doing their job. So that is what I'm saying. We can only judge them by what some of the people, by their actions and nothing else, you know.
Well, let me say this though. I think I listened to a little bit of what you talked about, the interview with Cuckoo. Mm-hmm. and I heard articulate a little bit of what the president talked as far as because I think he's really counting very much on my trip to Boya project. And I think if I remember anything about that whole thing, he's saying that give me the money and I will deliver Boya to you in
the shortest
possible time, so that it is not like Eritrea trying to break away from Ethiopia, right? So at least he's promising that. What else did he talk about? Because that seems to be the project going on, and I think is the project that the IG is waiting for, or waiting for the money to execute that project. Do you have the same sense?
Yeah, I have the same. That is what he said, because in part of that he said, if you don't give me the money, then at some point I will come and give you the numbers and tell you that nothing happened because we didn't have the money, right? I think that's
well. Okay, just hold there. And I want to say this, okay, that money and ideas. No, ideas are always there, even if it's just the individual. I want to say that this struggle is not led by money.
No, it is not.
Because if you look at the money, that the diaspora, all these governments that I've talked about, they had monies, and they were selling down. But the revolution from remember, Bob guys did not want money from anybody, but they brought the revolution to where it is. So it's not about money. I just want to say it's not about money, because it's more about getting people to do stuff.
Yeah.
Do you agree with me though?
No, 100%. And even if it is about money,
and I just hold a minute, and I didn't make notes as I was thinking about that, because I was thinking about some of the. Okay, I said the diaspora has money to contribute and maybe ideas, but our first resource, the first resource of any organization, any endeavor, is people. It's people who are living the problem. It's people who are understanding the problems with all its nuances and changes with time. It's people who are interrupting, slowing down, causing, disrupting what the enemy is trying to do. All of that don't need money. You just need to have people on the ground who are dedicated. Because if you look at some of the kids on the ground right now, right, who are forming their resistance groups, money is not really the issue. In fact, money that comes in from the West sometimes comes in and corrupts the process, where like what is happening in Lobialem. So I definitely want to make that point, that money is not the thing. If you can motivate the people and have organizations on the ground that then take action.
That is when the money follows.
The money only follows to enhance.
Yes.
Because, like I said, if you look at the revolution since last November, from the lawyers to where we declare independence, how much money went down there to make all of that happen?
Exactly, it was the people.
So it's not money. It's not money. It's the people, how you relate to them, how you lead them, how you motivate them, and how you give direction on what should be done.
Yes. Because
everything is not money. If it's money, I can tell you that then our struggle is doomed, because we'll never have more money than La République. We'll never have more money than France.
Yes. No, you're perfectly right, because and I think one of the things that he said, because I think when you are in that position and you feel that if the tool that you need is money, and the money is not forthcoming, and then I think you need to take a step back and ask yourself, okay, what is the problem? Why am I having this problem? Why is this money not coming in? Is it that the messaging is not right? Is it that the messenger is not right? Is it that the people are just not willing to participate? And this last point is not true, because the people are willing to participate, but the problem is just that they are not participating in the way that the interim government or the AIP wants in terms of this my trip to Boya.
Yes, but let me say something, okay? I don't mean to interrupt you, because sometimes if I forget the ideas. But let me say this. What I have noticed with our people is that whenever there's action on the ground, money flows. When SDF was organizing in the territory and moving the whole agenda on the ground, I mean, I remember every week we used to meet here, we'll contribute for for municipal elections who contributed money, and we used to argue that why contribute this money and take it and give it to Paul B, and then he takes it and fight you back. You know what I'm saying? But we gave the money, and I've always used that how SDA was organized as a very good way of raising money in the United States even now. But money precedes action, not the other way around.
Yes.
Remember that when after October 1, when things were happening on the ground, that's when the Morris and all these other people came in and gathered a lot of money. Because at that point, everybody in the West, the only way we express our sympathy or try to contribute to the ground struggle is to give money. And so whenever money is not coming out, it means people are not seeing why they should give money. Would you say?
Yeah, that is true. And I think a couple of people have articulated that. But I guess, and that is where I was going when I was saying that you have to take a step back and ask yourself, is it something that the people are not responding to? Do I need to do something differently? But on the contrary, I think we heard the president saying, well, if you are not contributing, it means you are an enemy of the revolution, or you are working for the Republic, and all those kind of things. When I listened to that, I just thought that no, that is not the right way to go. Because if you have put a project like this, and it's a project that you believe in, and you have described this project as a game changer, that this is what is needed to take the fight to La Republique and limit our casualties and take us to where in the shortest possible time, then I believe that you have to do everything in order to make this succeed. And doing everything means what? It means assessing, getting on the drawing board with your advisors, with the people running the project, to find out how is this project running, how are the people responding to it, why are people not responding to it, what do we need to do to get the people to respond the way we want them to respond. If you go out and say, okay, this person that did not respond is because he is against the struggle or is working for La Republique, and you have not addressed the reason why that person was reluctant to respond, then that person is just going to sit back. I don't see how you win people over by making that kind of statement, instead of telling them that, okay, well, maybe I need to do this differently, I need to do this differently, I need to treat it differently, I need to get the ground involved, I need to get some action going, like you said, because when there is action, then people respond to it with more contributions and things like that, and then you can accelerate the process.
Yes.
But so far, given, and I think Kuku asked him that this thing has been going on now for almost a month and a half, and he himself, he said yes, they are struggling with the fundraising and things like that because people are not responding. And I hope they can go back and look at the reason why people are not responding the way they thought that people could respond, and then try to identify those problems and address those problems and get the people on board. Because the people are on board, the only problem is they don't see a good sense of direction.
Okay, then let me ask you this. And I think you really led me up to my question. Is our struggle going to be fought incrementally, or would it be one big bang that, okay, bang, this is it, here's Boya? Are we going to do it incrementally, meaning that we make one effort and then one effort builds on another? Or is it a thing where you say, okay, give me all this money, then I will deliver? Because that is really the question that the IG should answer. Because listening to the president, it sounds like, give me all this money and I'll deliver. And I'm saying my knowing of our people since the days of the SDF is that you do, and then the people reward you by giving more.
Yeah, and you can look at, and he used the example of Eritrea, right? Because Eritrea was in a similar situation like us. And he said he did not want us to fight this fight for 31 years like Eritrea. And I think Eritrea even had more resources.
Yes.
They had more support, they had external support, they had everything, but it still took them 31 years. Because the enemy that you are fighting is a well-resourced, well-equipped, the enemy is connected on the international scene.
Yes.
It has France, with all its connections in the West, at the United Nations Security Council and all over the place.
It has Nigeria.
It has Nigeria that is ready to arrest our people.
Yes.
It has the African Union that will not say anything about the struggle. It has the European Union and all of these places. Then it has its money, and it's still tapping our resources. So to say that probably say he has this magic wand that if we can just raise this $2 million and all of a sudden we'll be in Buea maybe in 6 months, I think it's very, very unrealistic to say to be very fair and premature. Because when you set up people like that, and you set up people's expectations like that, and the people can rise up and believe in you and give you that 2 million, right? And you come to the people and say, hey, I have this 2 million now, we'll be in Buea in 6 months, and God forbid you are not in Buea in 6 months. What are you going to tell the people?
You know, I was talking to one activist one time, right? And this activist told me that one of France's policies, and I think La République has adopted that too, is to wait you out.
Yeah.
To wait you out. In fact, that's why La République was not responding to all our agitations from the lawyers up to October 1. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately for them, the waiting out worked against them because it allowed us to educate the whole of our population. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But one of their things is to wait people out. They wait their enemies, because, like you said, they have they have a lot of resources to wait you out. They have a lot of the diplomatic access to prevent you from going anywhere. In fact, we are surrendered right now. You know,
by Chad, by Nigeria. You know, everywhere is...
No, they've covered us.
Yes.
And the internal government has expressed that sense, because I think they agree that we're totally on our own. They've come out by saying that we are on our own.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, how do you fight them? Do you fight them by saying, okay, give me 2 million, pap? 2 million is not going to fight La République. I don't know what the magic one is, but it seems to me that we will raise that 2 million faster if we keep doing. Let me ask you, what were some of the things that were happening on the ground which were incremental before we come to this new situation where I think you know where I'm going. There've been a lot of resistance on the ground. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. And I think those are the things that I'm here that I think are incremental. I'm looking for other actions which are other than defense actions, because I think La République has basically shut down everything except the resistance. Mm-hmm. And I think it is the different resistant groups that most people are listening to these days. Mm-hmm. I don't know, like Lobialem, when they come, I think it gets our attention.
Yeah.
When Batibo comes, it gets our attention. Mm-hmm. The adoption of colonial agents, it gets our attention. Mm-hmm. Because that's the only thing on the ground.
Yes. So what you are saying is that, and it is something that you did articulate before, you have to fight this fight one step at a time and build on some of your successes. So if Libialem is doing this, maybe Batibo is doing this, maybe if this is happening in Bui, you have to have your own strategy. You cannot, as we drag this thing, waiting for us to get all of these funds that we need. This is what is happening. Our casualties are increasing because the Republic is not stopping. We have given. Imagine when we started in 2016, La Republic did not know how organized we were. Mm-hmm. By delaying and doing all of these things, we have given them time to
catch up.
To catch up.
Yes.
Okay. Now we have knocked them out of Bello. They are out of the BLM. We are going to sit here while we sit to wait for this 2 million to build up. La Republic is going to go back and recuperate, borrow more money from some places, and come back and burn more villages and do all of those things.
Listen, please don't forget what you're going to say. They have also adapted. I just read a piece this morning where they are no longer going in trucks, that they are sending
on bikes
and in civilian clothes, and then they gather somewhere. I was just reading about a piece. Abe, is it Abe? Mm-hmm. That they are gathering there right now as we speak.
Yes.
So as we delay, they are changing their tactics, and that's why I opened my conversation by saying, when governments are based abroad, they're not part of the organic, and you have to invest in your people, because the people are seeing what's happening. How did I know that? Because I read it on a WhatsApp somewhere where somebody on the ground there is reporting that bees are assembling at a certain bridge. He calls it Abe. I don't know what village that is. But so yeah, while we're waiting, La République is not sleeping. And I think, please continue. I didn't mean to cut you. I just want to say La République is
Precisely.
Yes, as we get along, as we've been changing and they've been failing, they've been catching up, and they're not waiting. If we're waiting for some bigger solution, then we can be moving on incrementally.
Yes. That village is Ngi that you were talking about.
Oh yes, Ngi. Okay.
Yes. So that is the problem, because then we give them time instead of just keeping the pressure. We put the pressure with the limited resources that we have. Then we come back and sit back and give them time to go back and recuperate, and then come back with more vengeance and onslaught and our people are sitting in the bushes.
Yes.
So I think that the reason they might trip to Buea is really struggling is because the interim government with the AIP and those managing the my trip to Buea have not clearly articulated how this 2 million will get us to Buea. That has not, because it is different. If you want to win people, you have to go out there and paint people a picture. If you remember the speeches that Churchill made,
yes,
when Germany was flying over
London
and all of those things.
Yes.
Remember those speeches. You have to go out and inspire the people. Those that have doubts, you have to inspire them to be confident. Those that are reluctant, you have to bring them on board. And you don't bring them on board by telling them that, well, because you are reluctant or you are not inspired, you are against the revolution.
But don't forget that as Churchill was making those fiery speeches, the Royal Air Force was on the air fighting them.
Yes.
And the Royal Air Force was nothing compared to what Adolf Hitler was sending.
Yes.
But they were there fighting gradually. And it's bad. And as they did that, just that determination made Hitler like, let's forget about Britain and go to Russia. And guess what?
Yes.
And that's how Britain survived, and that's how the Second World War, that's how the Germans lost.
And it gave time for America to come in.
It gave time for America to come in. So, again, I didn't mean to cut you. It's just that I needed to add that.
Yes.
As Churchill was giving those fiery speeches, the Royal Air Force was sending their planes. They were going deep into Germany and all the European territories that they control. They were bombing their airfields. They were bombing their fuel tanks. They were doing the little things that made that resulted in the defeat of Hitler. And I'm saying this because as I keep thinking about the president's 2 million and this one big solution, I'm thinking, remember when America went into Iraq, Donald Rumsfeld was talking about shock and awe, right?
Yes.
Did shock and awe happen?
You didn't do anything.
No, because when you go there, it's not like I'm going to go bomb this bridge and then the bridge will fall. When you go, you're going to go fight people, and when you give it to them, they're going to see what else they can give it back. And so it's a give and take until at some point, either the moral ground that we stand on finally overwhelm the world, and the world say, hey, stop this nonsense. Or the enemy just gets to a point like they're getting to a point now where they're actually allowing the American ambassador to say, well, I can negotiate. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But we need to keep slugging on. So basically, let me ask you, what are some of the things that you think because we've talked about what they are, we've talked about the president's plan. What could be the president's plan now? We've talked about incremental, but what are the incrementals that you think they could be doing?
I think the first thing is to recognize that, because as we are talking about this thing now, do not be surprised if we are viewed as critic, because one of the things that he said yesterday was that no, do not be just a critic all the time. So people should just shut up and follow what you are saying, even if they don't agree. Because you see, and I think that's one of the things that he said that really bothered me as somebody who is my leader. He said when he was part of the former government, or when he was an activist with the Skakuf thing, mm-hmm. there were things that were done within Skakuf that he did not agree with, but he did not criticize it.
No, I think example I heard him say was that he did not believe in the lawyer thing.
Yes. But
he supported it.
Yes.
No, I really think that, look, I've had Gojidinka say that as a young lawyer in the days of Southern Cameroons, he was able to have 3 commissions of inquiry created by the government. So Western and liberal democracies listen to their people, and you can never stop the people from talking. I think the government can always say, I'll let everybody talk and I'll decide what to respond to and what not to respond to, rather than say talking is bad. Because that is the sense you get when you hear that?
Yeah, that's what I get. And then people get labeled as being against the interim government and being against the revolution and being against it and being against that. And you know, we have a lot of respect for Kuku, but I thought that she did not help the revolution or help our people by prodding the president to explain more what he means, but rather she was more of echoing what the president was saying instead of trying to get real answers for the president for the people, so that the people can get on board with this revolution if they are not on board already and fight this revolution. So
let me add something before you continue again. See, I've been a customer service manager for some Fortune 500 companies in this country, and one of the things they taught us was that some of your most demanding customers are some of your most loyal customers also. Because obviously when they come and complain, they complain of services that you give them, and they come back to you because they want you to give them better service, because they always have a choice of moving to your competitor. But they chose to come and complain so that they can remain your customers. So complaining is never a bad thing.
Yeah, so I think that example illustrates what I'm trying to say, because when you see people, the people who are criticizing you are not criticizing you because they want you to fail. They are critiquing you so that you should take a step back and review what you are doing so all of us should succeed. But on the contrary, I think criticisms or something like that of this IG or those who support the IG or whatever is seen as a bad thing, and I think that would be terrible if that's a country that we are building. So I think you asked, what does the government need to do?
Yes.
So my answer to that is that I think the government first of all needs to find out, why are people reluctant? I can tell you that contributions are actually dwindling. I don't know whether people are already getting contribution fatigue or whatever, but the government needs to ask itself, what is the reason? Why are people not on board with this my trip to Boya, with everything that it promises to deliver? That would be the first thing. When you understand that, then you get to the business of addressing that. Then you will get the people then to come on board for my trip to Boya. You will then have what you need, and then you have to go out there and execute it. And you start by articulating exactly what that my trip to Boya is. It is just at this point that we are talking, it is just a fundraising slogan. That's how I see it. The people don't understand exactly how it's going to happen. At least some people are.
But what I'm also saying is that it's just a fundraising when people don't know what the fundraising is for.
Exactly.
Because, and that's why we talked about incremental
action.
Yes. Because, let me ask you this though. Because all of this conversation is focusing on funds. I want us to focus on action, because there are certain actions that are done, and that's what I was going to your people. There are certain actions that are done by people, not funds. And it seems to me that there's a freeze right now because of funds. And I'm saying, no, right on the ground right now, they are, I don't know. Was there ever any money that went down to sponsor a self-defense group that, okay, create a self-defense group with money?
No.
Okay, these self-defense groups are trying to address a situation that they are in. And they form their self-defense group and they go, you know, is it you who are saying that sometimes they catch them with cutlass, with machetes?
Yes.
So those are people who are motivated.
Yes.
So
that's the only tool that they have.
So the next thing to do, if you really want to help them, is not to say, no, you look at what they're doing, and if there's a way to enhance it, you enhance it. But you don't. Look, one of the things that I keep saying is that and this is why I kept saying, the governments that are too far from the people sit and imagine what to do rather than watch what is going on and push it. Because in the final analysis, they used to tell us that who is government? We are the government. We do. And then our collective effort at the macro level come down and help. That's why I talked about the micro government and the macro. You understand? If the macro government, which is the IG, does not work well with the micro organizations in the territory, the macro will not win. It doesn't matter how much money you have. And so the micro organizations are not the organization that we created, because we cannot create any micro organization, and the only micro organizations that are on the ground right now are these defense groups. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, and those should be the ones that are...
Those should be the ones that are being supported.
Yes.
Now let me ask you, I wanted to ask you, before the IG, this present IG took over, what was happening, and how were things moving different from then and now?
Well, before this IG took over, there were people on the ground, there were regions, there were people that were trying to do things individually. Because the previous IG, and this is something that this current IG has said, it is different from the other IG. I know it's a question that you asked me before. The previous IG actually tried to stay away from issues of self-defense. And I think in our previous show, you opened that show by describing how that was outsourced to AGC and all the other people who were supposed to carry out these ground activities for us.
No,
Yes.
Well, no, they claim that
Yes.
that's their forte.
Exactly.
Yes.
So yes, and then the IG let that happen, but then they did not fully embrace it, as the current AIP has said, and part of that is true. And when they did not do that, because remember at one time there were some people that wanted to support issues of self-defense, and Mr. Tassan and a couple of people came out and called it a scam, that they were scammers going out there to raise money from people. So that is how things have been supported on the ground up to this point, without real collaboration with the interim government, individuals, communities.
So okay, let me see if I'm with you. So you're saying that there were self-defense groups that were being created, but they were not being supported by the IG at the time, but they were supported by third parties who Tassan came out and called them scammers?
Yes.
So, okay.
They went out to raise money. There was a GoFundMe thing that was created, and he came out and said people should not contribute to that GoFundMe because it's a scam and all that kind of things. And, it created a whole reverberation.
Before we continue, let me say something here. I see the people at ground zero concentrating on the real problems, and I see everybody else concentrating on money. Either calling people who are trying to raise independent money scammers, or directing money their way by scamming, or collecting money waiting for a big bang. I really, that's why I keep saying this thing is not about money, because the ground has come this far. In fact, this resistance, the reason why we see talking about this now and talking about even the IG is because there are some people on the ground resisting this thing.
Yes, and just to add to that, because one of the things the president said yesterday was that we can tell where you belong by your actions, right? So if somebody is sitting now and believes that his village has just been raised down by the Republic, his people are all in the forest, and he needs to do something about it, and he puts his hand in his pocket and takes money and tell these guys on the ground that, okay, you guys take this money and help yourself. So according to what the president said yesterday, based on this person's action, because that money has not gone to my trip to Boya, this person is against the revolution.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's correct, and I think that if he has a chance, he'll modify that statement, or he would clarify it.
Yes. So that is what a lot of people are doing, because people cannot stand every day you get up and on your phone you see somebody, one foot is held this way and the other foot is held this way, and the person is shot. You see a little child with the face blown up, a big man, the face blown. When people see those things, people want to do something about it.
Yes.
And if you are taking your time, you want to raise all your money and get all the money in your pocket before you do something,
it's not going to happen.
People are going to stand up individually or as a community and pull themselves together to do something in response to what the Republic is doing to our people.
Yeah, because there is a vacuum.
Yes.
There is a vacuum, because when these things happen, we expect an immediate response.
Yes.
And if that response does not come, then people become edgy. Yeah. And they become edgy to the authority that is supposed to respond, and then if they remain edgy, then they create their alternatives
exactly
to fill that vacuum.
Yes.
And I can say one thing, that creating that alternative does not either negate what the IG can do or negate the responsibility of the IG. It is just somebody who is responding to someone stepping on their toe.
Yes.
You don't wait for somebody else to come and push it for you.
Yes. And the IG should embrace that and encourage that, instead of going out and criticizing them and telling them that they are against the revolution or against the people when they are doing things like that. I think things like that have to be encouraged, and the IG has to be responsive and bring those people in and encourage those people in so that those people can do more. I have always said this is a collaborative effort. The government on top is supposed to be collaborating, coordinating, and doing all these things. If people sit around and they see that the government is waiting for Godot to come and deliver, the people are going to say, well, my village is going to be next. I am not going to be waiting for whether this thing is going to happen in 2 months or in 6 months. By that time, all of the people would have been killed. What will be the use of that? I'm going to do something now.
Pale, I'm going to say something and I want you to respond to it, okay?
Okay.
I was talking to a member of the IG or an agent of the IG. I'm not gonna call the name, but I'm gonna say that you have been expressing these kinds of concerns, and the person said that the concerns like those and some of the articulations you're giving about people taking independent action for things that are happening or doing something outside what the IG wants to do is saboteur. What do you say about that? It's sabotaging. What do you say about that?
Yeah, well, it is unfortunate because if that is a mindset that people have, that people who are looking at what is happening on the ground and feel the need to respond to it while government takes its time, and you view those people as saboteurs or people who are pressing that more things need to be done, and you view those people as saboteurs, that is part of the problem, that you might be wondering, okay, who else is thinking that way, and you are calling them all those names. These people will definitely, you see, I always, and I have said this to people, the first weapon that we have to fight this fight is motivation. And when you come out as a member of government or an influential person in government, and you call people those names, people who are putting all those efforts, La République did not put a gun through their head or a bullet through their heart or anything like that to kill them. But you just killed that spirit that pushes them to do what they are doing for the struggle. So you might not, La République might not have killed them, but you have actually taken them out of the struggle.
By demotivating them.
Yes, by demotivating them, by making them question what they are doing for the struggle. So when you do that, you might then begin to ask yourself, why are these people not responding? Or why are these people not doing this? It is based on what you say. So it is unfortunate that people who express their views, because there are some people that will say things like that and not say anything. As you said, the people that criticize your business more and more are one of your most important patrons.
Yes.
And if you see those people as they are out to get you and undermine your efforts and all that kind of stuff, you kill that spirit of motivation.
I was going to say you lose your business because you're driving your customers away.
Yes. So I think it is unfortunate, and I hope that as a government, those people need to reassess themselves and reevaluate what they are doing for the struggle. I have heard them say so many times that this struggle is for all of us, and we are encouraging people to come. You are not only asking people to contribute. Contribution is not just the money that you go and put into my trip to Boya. People contribute in different ways. People have ideas, people have skills, people have different ways to move this struggle forward. If to you it is only $500 that they are going to put in my trip to Boya, they can put that $500 into my trip to Boya and come back and sit at home and wait for you to take that $500 plus $500 plus $500 that goes up to $1 million, and then take them to Boya And after that, they will come back and ask you, why did my money not take me to Boya? What are you going to tell them? So it is not just about money. It is about the skills. It is about the determination of the people. It is about the motivation that they have. And it is everything that is going to take us to Boya.
Okay. You know, part of a democratic system, part of a democratic and a liberal system is accountability. Okay. So the people of Ambazonia have set up the interim government. I know some people say, oh, no. The people of Ambazonia have their interim government. Who is the interim government accountable to? Because what you're raising now, or what we're talking about, are complaints about what we're hearing and what is happening that's making people edgy. If people are edgy for a while and they do not get a response, they will need change. So my question is, who is the IG responsible to, or who is the IG accountable to, that can make some of the changes in order to get the people's struggle continue and not be stopped by people who mean well, but what they are thinking is not really working and may not work?
Well, it's a difficult question. I think what the fourth conclave did was that they had a restoration council that was supposed to be working. They had these regions in the U.S. and countries around the world with their representatives in the country and regional representatives forum that are supposed, in collaboration with the ethics council, the restoration council, to hold the government. I think those are the people that the government is supposed to be answerable to. I don't know if they are or not, but at this material moment, I think the government is everything. I don't think they're answerable to anybody, because if you question a decision that they have taken, they label you as a saboteur. If you criticize or if you ask questions about what they are doing, or you think that is not working, they say you are against the struggle. So people just probably fold their hands and go home.
That's exactly what I was coming to, that when I ask that question, I'm asking the question only at the level of institution. Okay? Because individually, people vote themselves away by not contributing. You know what I'm saying? That's how people respond. So, but there should be an institutional response. And I'm not saying it is time for that yet. I'm just saying, I think if all these levels of accountability are available, then there should be some feedback in order to adjust some of what you and I are talking about right now. Because I think what we are talking about is serious. Because there are people dying on the ground every day. La Republic is adjusting. They have full-time armies. And La Republic is under pressure. And while they're under pressure, we need to increase that pressure. And that, when you see, you remember the colonial governor going to Lobialem, and there was a quote-unquote attack on them. That seems to be a staged attack in order to justify some of the defense actions going on the ground and affecting them, but they're trying to disguise it in order to justify their own illegalities in the place. So they are feeling pressure in order to do that, and we need to be responding to that in a nimble way. We cannot, the IG cannot sit and say, oh, we are waiting for this money. No, what if that money never comes? I think you go to war with the soldiers you have, with the equipment you have, and with what you have at the time responding to what is happening on the ground. You don't sit and say, okay, burn that house, burn that tribe, burn this village, send all these people out. We don't have anything to fight you with. And that's why when the IG came out, and I think it's Chris Anu, who started blaming these kids that, oh, you go out and kill a gendarme and then they come and clear the village. How does that help you? And I'm like, no, these people are going to fight with what they have at the time they have it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, respond to me on that part, because I hear what Chris is saying, but I can tell you that those people are burning those villages not because the kids did anything. Because that is not a response of a responsible and legitimate government, that because somebody hurts a police officer, you go and burn their village.
Well, and you remember that they were the ones accusing us of burning schools, right?
Yes.
So they have been doing all the burning, and they want to turn around and say it is us. Yeah, you go. You just quoted Donald Rumsfeld. I don't know if you remember in 2003.
Yes,
he said that you go to war with the army that you have, and I think that is what the interim government needs to understand. That we are never this. We don't have a treasury. Our treasury is our people, and our people are going to respond in incremental ways. You cannot come and sit and tell the people just put in 500 or 1,500 or 3,000 or 5,000 and go home and everything is going to happen. I think that is a wrong strategy. I think that is a wrong message to tell the people. I think that message needs to be rephrased. That get involved in the struggle. Be part of the struggle in whatever way you can. Come as you are. Come with your ideas. Come with your resources. Come with everything we have. Because we have...
Take the enemy where you are.
Yes.
However you can.
Yes.
And that, because that's already what is happening.
Yes.
That's what is happening.
Yes. Let's empower our young men and women who are on the ground fighting with nothing. Some of them are in hospitals. Let's do everything. Our parents... I have always said, Ground Zero has always delivered every time anything we ask them to do.
Yes.
The problem...
Sometimes with nothing.
With nothing.
Yes.
The problem has always been us in the diaspora, because we want to see videos, and some of these children have to risk their lives because they want to get videos to show you and convince you that you should do nothing. No, we are asking people that people need to be committed. People need to own the struggle. And what does it mean to own the struggle? To say, I am going to do everything. Every day, what have you done for the struggle? Did you pick up some used clothes for refugees? Did you talk to somebody to convince them to support the refugees? You can support refugees. You can support defense actions. You can support anything that you want. But the government should not be saying, as long as you don't put that money in my trip to Buea, you are against the struggle. No, that is wrong.
Well, I was smiling here because when you say what we do here in the West, we always here in the diaspora, we're always paralyzed by analysis. You spend too much time analyzing and doing nothing. Okay? So it is too much analysis that go into these things that people come out and say, oh, you are a saboteur, or all of that is nonsense. If you just put your ears on the ground and let the people say, here, this is the help that we need, and you provide that help, you go forward. Otherwise, to be honest with you, if we abolish the IG and say there's no IG, the people on the ground will take this fight and they'll probably move with it faster. Do you remember the SDF? It started on the ground. It was mostly funded by the people on the ground. Mm-hmm. They came with their bodies to shield Frundi. Mm-hmm. They brought food. They brought everything.
They cut down trees.
They cut down trees. And that's how SDF was formed. Okay? So this thing is not about a certain group sitting somewhere and they analyze to death and then they come out and start deciding who is right and who is wrong and all of that. There is a need for us to coordinate. But that need does not come by a certain group deciding what should be called. No, that is better done by looking at what is working, encourage those, then bring them together and empower them. Empower them. Say, okay, here's what you're doing. Let me say this. I remember when the president, Sako, first came in, he talked about coordinating all the defense forces. How is that effort going, and how is that being enhanced by what was going on before? Or how does that enhance what was going on before?
Well, I think when he said that, and there was this communique that there were all these defense groups that had come together and people were celebrating, but I thought that it was premature, because you can look, if you read a couple of weeks ago, there was, I think, one communique in the media, social media, that one group was saying they had left the defense platform. And the people that I was hoping that he was going to bring under the fold, or at least try to work in a collaborative way with them, was the AGC and SOCADEF. Because whether you like it or not, whether you like what they are doing, whether you buy what they are doing or not, they have a following. They have a following, and that following can make a lot of noise. They can, even if they don't do anything, they can ruin your day that you are going to use that day to do something to move the struggle forward. So when you get up in the morning and you pick up a fight with one of them on social media, for example, and you know sometimes you can't even stop yourself from this back and forth, back and forth. That is a day that you have wasted that you could have used to talk to some people about the struggle, to do something for the refugees, to go visit the congressman or do something like that. So whether you like it or not,
let me say this here. Because what you just described is the noise that goes on in the diaspora that has absolutely no effect on the ground. Let me say this.
Yeah.
When the IG, Morris, AGC, SCYL, they get into this noise making, it's all noise that is outside the playing field. And maybe some of it breathes down and then disturb something. But it is a total waste of time. Because like I've already said, these diaspora groups don't contribute, they contribute very little to the ground. And where they really should have an impact, they go down there and they instead want to be bosses. You sit in the West and you live your life there, and then you want to go down and be a general on a fighting force that's creating. So that's a waste. It's almost like being very condescending to the people on the ground. Those people on the ground are very smart, and they have also really shown that they can accomplish more than anybody in the diaspora can. And so what did you just say that they should have done? To me, that is not what it means. I thought you would say that they are the fighting forces on the ground. This thing need to be all the roads should be heading to the ground, not lateral to all these other splinter groups that are. Let me say something really quick.
Yeah.
Another thing you do, which I was thinking about it, you call these fringe groups frontline groups. AGC is not a frontline group. SCYL is not a frontline group. Morris is not a frontline group. These are fringe groups existing in the diaspora. Some of them have 2 members, some of them have 4 members, but they make the loudest noise because, like you said it right the other day, they have a phone and an app in it where they can go out and make noise, and people share. Okay? Those people have absolutely no effect on the ground. In fact, instead they drain the ground, they beg money here, and then go and destabilize the ground.
All right. So let me.
So what I want you to tell me is, how did this new president with his ideas go down there, find out the groups that are resisting on the ground, find out how they're working, find out how to bring them together and effect? Did that happen, and how did that relate to what was going on before he came in?
Okay, let me respond to you. First of all, you said that this noise does not affect what happens on the ground, and I will respectfully disagree with that. It does, and let me tell you how.
But before you go, I just want to say one thing, okay?
Do you want to qualify it?
No, I just want to clarify.
Okay.
In economics, right?
Yeah.
It is said that there's demand and there's effective demand. A person who is selling a Volvo, right? A person who is selling a Range Rover, right? Many people come there, I want this Range Rover, I want this Range Rover, He is not going to increase the inventory because of the people who come and say, I want. No, he is going to increase his inventory if people come and actually buy a Range Rover out and buy a Range Rover out and buy a Range Rover out. That's effective demand. So all these people abroad are making noise. It is not effective noise.
Yes, it is not effective, but it has an impact on the struggle. It has an impact on the morale.
To us in the West?
No. On the people on the ground. Because remember,
I wanted to share that.
Yes.
I get up from the ground who are asking, how can these AGC people be silenced? Because one of the things that you need to know is that these people on the ground are very smart also.
Okay, all right.
What the people in the diaspora are, they are reading the arguments and they know who is who. They know who is real because they live the situation and they know what conversation and which group is really being is making sense to them.
Well, let me learn now. Just give me a couple of minutes. Let me learn.
All right.
Do you know why the people are asking you on the ground? How can these people be silent?
Well, because it is disturbing their ears.
It is disturbing them, so they cannot concentrate on the mission at hand. You cannot be asking somebody who is sitting down there and contemplating and strategizing how they are going to go out and do this and do that, and then you have all this noise coming in. You have people being paraded on social media, people being taking videos, and people are being said that they have been captured by this and captured by that and held prisoner, and people are wondering, okay, what is happening now? it affects the morale of the people that we depend a lot on. That is one.
Yes.
The second one is that it affects the support that we give them from here. Why? Those people that make all the noise, just here in Minnesota, you have some people who call themselves Changshu boys, right? And we have been accused of not supporting some of the people because we insisted that we wanted a unified force. We wanted all people to come together so we can work together, right? So it affects how the support goes to the people. That's how it affects it. Now you asked about how did this current government address this issue of unity. And one of the things you said was to stop so that these things are not going to these splinter groups, right?
Yes.
So that this is not going here, this is not going here, this is not going here. I don't think they did. Because when they formed the ASC is supposed to be some kind of a council. And you form the ASC, you go and bring people into the council, and the people come and tell you, I am going to collaborate with you, but I am not going to submit to you. So it's a collaborative platform, which means that they are only there to tap on the resources of the IG and not bother to do what the IG tells them to do. So
wait, are you saying there's a defense group that said that, or I don't understand?
Well, but that is it. That is what some of those groups in the ASC, that is what it is. It is a and then
who?
Well,
okay,
so
can you?
I'm not. They can come out and disprove me if they want to. But and so when you get money, you say, okay, I have $10,000. I am going to give $2,000 in Salt Frontier. I'm going to give $2,000 to Tigers. I'm going to give $2,000 to these other people. So at the end of the day, you had $10,000. After giving out $2,000 around, are you going to have the same effect of a $10,000?
No.
So that is the strategy. So
let's not go into the details. I just want to know.
No, I'm just you are talking about splinter groups. I'm just saying. So addressing the issue
because if you bring in the splinter groups, you should know. I mean, people make their demands to you, and then you evaluate the demands, and if you can support, you support. If you can, you can.
Well, okay, that is.
And then, but for me, it was more about coordinating action. It's not about. You see, we're always concentrating on resource, and that is where we're missing the boat because the resource you get should be what is detected by what you're going to do with the resource.
Yeah. So but you have to also determine if the person coming to put a request to you has that capacity.
No, but that's something that you even determine before you even bring them in as part of the group.
I don't think that was considered. It is just that as people go online and make a lot of noise, and they are willing to come and meet the interim government, so they become part of the group.
So let me tell you where I am now. It sounds to me from what I'm listening is that La Republique is really railing from individual Ambazonian groups that are causing their own mayhem without being coordinated. Can you imagine what will happen now if we can really coordinate it and then come in as a unified force?
Absolutely, yeah. La Republique, what we are doing, what La Republique is crying and going on its knees and begging for dialogue and all those things has largely been done by individuals. The individuals that they consider that some of them are against the struggle and some of them are saboteurs because they are not towing the line. And you are perfectly right with that.
No, that's what I just realized as we've been talking. Because I thought there was some coordinated effort going on and being well managed, and what he just told me is that these are kids in a neighborhood who, like men, defend their families, defend their sisters, their mothers, the best way they can. Some of them with sticks, some of them, you know what? Some of them will just march and patrol.
And that is what they.
And so this whole thing about, and I think we're coming down to the same thing again, that this thing is an incremental thing. And the incremental, you look at, then we as a, so those are now the micro, do you know that by the time these kids meet in their neighborhood and say, let's go and do this, there's obviously, they all feel the need. There's one of them who they consider their leader, who brings them together, and then they go and do this thing.
Right.
And that's a micro light point right down there. You identify that, and I can tell you that Ntamulung will organize his own group, and then Kwen will organize his own Tarankon. We used to play soccer, and we know those neighborhoods. We used to play inter-quarter games. And so you now begin to find regions, and that's where we come in and say who is, and then we bring those together. If we don't have the ability, if the IG doesn't have the ability to do that, then the IG is just basically interrupt, because right now the Kwakwa people in this town can decide that let's sit down and contribute our money and fight back. Okumba can sit down and say let's contribute and fight back. And I think then if people get to that point, then you see there's no use for the IG.
Yeah, well, I think they are getting there slowly but surely, because communities are actually rising up now to defend their people, and support their people, and that is why you can hear of the BLM. What we were expecting, me personally, let me not say we, but me personally, what I was expecting is that we will be building towards some kind of a synchronized, collaborative action by the government.
And that should be done fast.
Yes.
I'm surprised that by this time this has not been done, and we can sit back and know exactly who is who, and then decide that some more defense groups need to be there in this area, and then send some people to go there and defend. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because most of the time when you listen to the boys on the ground, they tell you that they want to work only for the interim government. So I think somehow the interim government takes that as some kind of an advantage, and they just sleep on it, because these guys have said, well, they want to support only the interim government, so we don't really need to do any other thing, which is wrong.
No, the interim government should know that they can be challenged. And I think by people not contributing, it's shown that they are voting with their money. At some point, I can tell you, and as they're voting with their money, if things begin to happen, they'll start looking at effective groups and they'll start putting their money there, because I can tell you, none of our people sleep well with what is happening at home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So not contributing doesn't mean that people are sleeping well and enjoying their lives with what is going back in the territory. No, none of that is happening. I think this conversation, is to address an in-house situation so that we all come together and re-examine what we do, because we need to be effective, all of us. We need an effective IG. We also need an effective groups fighting on the ground and an effective contributions. But all of that comes when things are working and people believe that they are working.
Absolutely, and the IG needs to be more responsive. You have to have people. When you accept that you want to go out and serve, you have to be ready to serve. You can't accept that you want to serve and then you just sit where you are, and people are sitting waiting for answers. You wait for answers for months. You put in requests or ideas. Nobody gets back to you. So people get discouraged. And when people get discouraged because you are not being responsive, then you begin to wonder, why are people not being responsive, right? Because it's a two-way street. When the people talk to you, you need to talk back to them in a timely manner. If you can't do it, tell the people that I'm too busy, I don't have time to do it. Don't accept that you are going to do it, and then you start complaining how busy you are and things like that.
Or hear your ideas and then turn around and call you a saboteur.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So,
because it's only dictatorships look at citizens making requests as a challenge. It shouldn't be a challenge. Because legitimate governments that are democratic, you vote them, they know they have a certain amount of time to perform, and then go back to the people and ask for another mandate.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
And respond to the people.
And so what you do is respond to the person. So when you come back for another mandate, that mandate is given. Unless somebody thinks that they have the place for life and there's no challenge to them, then they can start talking carelessly and calling other people saboteurs, or that if you don't support me, then you are an enemy and all that crap. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That really shouldn't be the case. Anything else you want to add, Pa?
Well, we always believe that all of us have a reason to be in this struggle. And the reason is that we have been oppressed and we want to be free. That is a common denominator. And we are going to fight and encourage our people to be free. So whether we are asking of the government and the government officials things that we are asking too much of them, that is our responsibility, to ask our government to be responsive and effective. And the government has to look for ways to present its policies. If you ask me what is the policy of the current government in place, I will not articulate it to you. Yes, we know that we are in a revolution. We are fighting a revolution. That has to be a strategy. Lay it out for the people. This is my trip to Boya. This is step one. This is what we are going to do. This is what we are going to do. You don't have to come out and draw your strategy on the table on the Republic, but at least give your people something to work with. Encourage them, empower them, bring them on board. Don't push them away with some of the message that if we can judge you by your actions. No, people take actions based on how they see things. So let's bring everybody on board. Let us keep this revolution going, and let us help empower the ground.